in the movies. How did that come about? From the dream of becoming a doctor.
Good question. I think my brother and I, we had a couple of VHS cassettes. Like we had The Empire Strikes Back, and
I had that. Yeah.
Which is an amazing movie. And then we had The Fifth Element. Have you guys seen that one? It's a Luc Besson movie.
Epic.
And I think we were at that age when we were just discovering that kind of technology, and like we were just watching movies on repeat. So we had those two movies. We had the VHS player, and like both of them in dubbed, so like in Hungarian. But The Fifth Element, I've seen it probably like 70 times, and like we knew it by heart, and we were just like addicted to the movies. And my brother became a photographer, and he was interested in that, and he became a film director, and we were just love movies and like talk about movies. And I think when I was like 18, 19 here in Budapest, like anytime I heard about like somebody's making a movie or somebody making a short, I was like, can I come? Like, can I just like carry equipment or like, just be there, because I'm a tall guy. So even though I was always like not strong as Chris, but I was like, okay, how can I help? How can I help? And I just really enjoyed being on set and like that environment. And I just like it, like the phone kept ringing because they were like, oh, Tamas can come because he's like, he loves doing this shit.
Yeah.
And that went on for a couple of years, but I didn't really know what I want to do in the film industry. So I studied at first economics, and I edited film as like a second major kind of. And studying film and just working on films was like a great like dual power.
Yeah.
And I was trying to, even though I didn't know what I want to do in film, I was like pursuing it. So these things kept on happening, and I eventually went to like an ad agency, like a creative agency. I started working on production. I think everybody who's trying to figure out film, like start working in production, because they like get you in. It's like get a phone and you can just start organizing stuff. And so working in production for a couple of years, and being a PA, and then a lot of times what happened is like I knew people who were trying to make short films, and then you can get like a higher position in like a smaller project.
Of course.
Like, you work for free, and then you just help organizing stuff. And Budapest, being in Budapest is really lucky because they make so much stuff here, like so many movies and shows. And I just kept working in industry after college for a long time until I realized, okay, I want to direct, because I really enjoyed writing, but after you write something, it's really hard to give it to someone else. That was my experience. Yeah, it was like, I don't want anybody else to do this.
And they destroy it,
Destroy it, or even like making it better, but the whole idea was like too foreign to me. So now I'm like studying directing, but. Yeah.
And would you like to, I mean, just because of the two movies, and just side note on that, have you watched The Fifth Element recently? It's hilarious. I watched it about 6 months ago.
Yeah,
and
6 months ago?
Yeah, my whole recollection of how good the film was. I can't remember the name of the green guys who were in the spaceships, the bad guys, but the graphics could have been a bit better.
Oh, I know. But
I assume the budget back then was quite big, but it's not like Aliens.
But that was like just technology, though. I mean,
but just go and watch it again. You'll understand what I mean. It's still an amazing movie.
Right.
My 5-year-old son loved it.
Oh, that's good.
But I'm looking at it and I said, I'm sure this was more realistic back then.
Oh, it's probably great. Yeah.
Another one I watched, which was. They've done this a few times. I forgot. Lost in Space. They did a TV series on it just now, and it was a classic. But they made one. It was one of the first DVDs ever out.
Oh wow!
And they had this little creature. I'll play a clip of it on screen. But back then, I was like, "This is so cool." It's horrific. It's absolutely horrific how bad the CGI is.
But think about it. I mean, like Jaws.
Timeless though.
You watch it with the kids today, and it's boring because it's so slow.
Right.
Or like what's that? Bates, Psycho. Where he kills the chick in the shower. they show him filming and walking down the hallway, getting the mop bucket, filling it, walking back up the hallway, mopping the whole bathroom. It's like a 3-minute sequence. You just couldn't keep people attracted.
Yeah. I think you have to show the kids their movies when they're older, and they'll appreciate it more. But I mean, Jaws is still like looks realistic to an extent. You know, there is a scene where the shark jumps on the boat, and it's like, okay, you can see.
But that's why they like Jaws seemed that way, because they try to show less of the creature because it was not realistic.
Yeah.
So they were like, okay, like how can we shoot around it and kind of make the scary part that it's like you don't see it.
Well, you see that a lot in horror movies now, where you don't really see the bad guy, like the Nun or Insidious. You don't like the first Insidious movie freaked the hell out of me. I love horror, and it freaked the hell out of me. And then until you see this devil demon character in like the last 10 minutes, and I'm like, oh, wasn't that scary?
Right.
You know?
Because it's always scarier what we imagine.
Yeah.
And what we don't see.
So my question there was, I mean, these two movies you had. Are you more into sci-fi, or is that just what started the journey and you've moved into romance, or what do you like to write about, and what would you like to be your...
I think I gravitate towards comedy.
Okay.
But I love sci-fi. I really love sci-fi movies, but I'm still trying to figure out what I really want to do, but I think my mind goes to the funny. Like whenever I read a script, I was like, oh, that would be funny, and so I think comedy would be
comedy sci-fi.
Comedy sci-fi. Actually, like...
Have you seen the Orville?
Which one?
Orville. The TV show Orville.
No.
So, first thing, you're going to love this.
Okay.
It's Seth MacFarlane from Family Guy.
Okay,
but it's him as an actor.
Right.
And he wrote
he's like a Star Trek
kind of. It's like Star Trek, but it's like, there's a big guy, Brutus, in there, and he's like, this big, muscly guy, and there's only men in his species. And the way they reproduce is by laying an egg. And this big butch guy who like handles any physical situation comes in and says, I need to take a vacation because I've laid an egg. But he's the most dry guy you've ever... honestly, you will love that show. It's hilarious.
I did see a couple of clips of it. Yeah. He's addicted to cigarettes.
Yeah.
He's like, what is this thing? And then it's like, he's like smoking 200 cigarettes.
Yeah, and there's like this AI android from a civilization who's trying to learn about humanity. And I can't remember his name. And he's like, one guy, puts like a fake nose. He hasn't got a face. He's just got like a screen. He puts a fake nose on him or something like this. And the guy's like, it's funny. He's like, okay. And then in response, the robot cut off the guy's leg in his sleep. It's like, it was funny. Like, it's brilliant. It's brilliant. It's Family Guy, but with real people. It's brilliant.
Did they cancel the show or is it still going on?
I think I don't think that they've cancelled it because it was pretty big. I don't know is the answer. There was rumors when I last looked that they were going to do a movie.
Oh, nice.
But I think Seth MacFarlane's just time is, he's got Ted, he's got Family Guy, he's got, and then he, from what I understand, he was actually a producer into one of the space documentaries that was recently remade. I can't remember the name of it now. Cool. But he's really into like actual factual documentaries as well about sci-fi. So he's a big sci-fi comedy nerd.
Right.
So, but yeah, it's that Orville show you will love. It's brilliant. Yeah. So comedy.
Yeah, I think so. Like I enjoyed them a lot. Or like do you guys know like Ruben Östlund? He's like Triangle of Sadness and like Square. And I think great directors can bend genres in a way that you don't really pinpoint exactly what you're watching. Like his movies are like romance, but comedy, but drama, but satire and like social commentary and like
crosses over. Yeah,
crosses over and can deliver like great themes without like really like smashing your face in it and just being really subtle about it. And
but now you've kind of gone from a love of movies to more of a passion because you've been in the industry how long now? We met in 19 and you were so
I mean since I'm like 18 probably, but like great like big movies that like we met only since 2018. But before that, like just anything that I can get my hands on.
So how long have you been doing it now? Like
more than 10 years.
10 years, yeah. And now you're in LA going to film school.
Right.
So you went from the mule of carrying the equipment to when we met, you were the PA for Denny, weren't it?
Yeah.
And then for producers and directors. And then you said, I'm done with that. You started your own company. Yeah, I have a small production company that does like behind the scenes stuff for films because
especially for social media. So I've seen this because I know movies are trying to, like, they have a huge advertising budget for like big movies. And I just saw this market niche for like social media marketing, because I thought for the fraction of their marketing budget, it's the best way to like reach millions of people. So yeah, trying to tap into that, especially in Budapest.
Yeah.
So I have a good partner, and we approach all the movies that are shot.
But it's a big step to go from,
right.
you know, I'm working for a salary to now I own my own company and trying to make money.
Right.
But also it gives you kind of control of your own destiny.
Control my own destiny. I like that. That's good.
Well, I think it was a smart move. I mean, I assume it's video behind the scenes you're taking, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I remember like DVDs used to have, you know, the extra bits.
Right.
It'd be like that stuff. And that kind of, I've actually seen that resurface on YouTube quite a lot now with like, you know, behind basically the stuff that was on the DVD back then, and that's coming online. I think it's, especially if you get that, like something like Dune, where it's a cult classic now, you know, and people love it, and they just want to watch everything they can about it if they're obsessed about it. I mean, coming back to The Fifth Element, I mean, I'd love to see these guys put on these green costumes, you know.
Exactly.
When you see it, you'll understand what I mean. But but like, you know, I'd love to see that behind the scenes of how the actors got in character. Bruce Willis was brilliant in that as well, by the way. But and I think that's also sensible from, if you do want to become a director standpoint, because you get to see a lot of behind the scenes stuff firsthand.
Yeah. And also, like, just talking to the actors is a huge plus, because you learn how to like approach them, and it's like tiny directing, because you're like, okay, we're gonna do this video, and like I would love for you to talk about whatever your role. So it's like talking to them and trying to like craft like a different performance. It's not like a character performance, but they're also kind of performing because it's marketing. So it's, for the actors, they're not like themselves 100%. They're like selling the movie. So it's like a third kind of acting. It's not character, not themselves, but it's like marketing.
And do you find that when you're interviewing these actors, they're like different actors, you approach them differently in different ways? Yeah,
100%. All of them are different. And that was a great lesson, like going into directing, because some of the actors are just like, tell me exactly what to do, where to stand, what to say. I know what this is about. But there are other people who are like, I'm not doing that. I will do this instead.
Okay. So it becomes a negotiation, basically, because I mean, you have your vision for the script, the movie, or whatever, and they have their interpretation of that, and now you're having to convince them.
Right. It's always convincing, like, and it's the same kind of convincing when you're like working with a writer, and because everybody has different ideas, and everybody wants to do the best movie, and nobody wants to make something bad, even if it's like a tiny video for Instagram marketing wise, or like a movie. And it's like, I always say at these meetings, like I have a tiny experience in like directing, but like I always say to all the team members, like story comes first. So like if anybody has a good idea and like we know it's a better idea than our idea, then that's the new idea. And I think it's important to know that, and like create that kind of atmosphere where it's like really creative and like anybody can jump in, and you do have to know when you like have to stick to your own vision and your own idea, and need to sell it need to convince to someone like, yo, no, you don't gonna look foolish. It's the right thing. Put on the green suit or whatever it is. It's
how is the industry like in your experience? Like, if there's a movie that someone directs, produces, or whatever, acts in that fails completely, is that like just a complete smash on their ego, or is it like, whatever, I don't care? Because each one is kind of like your baby, right? I mean, you pour your heart, soul into this production.
I mean, I guess it depends on the person and also like their title in it and like what they do on it. But yeah, I mean, just think of my own, like it's really hard to show it to people. So like, last semester we did the comedy, and my editor and my producer and I, we just watched it so many times. We weren't laughing at the jokes. We were like, is this still funny? Like, we just had no idea because we've seen it 100 times. So like seeing it, like sitting in the theater, like showing it to all like classmates, like my editor was like throwing up before, like he was like so nervous, and we're just like, is this gonna be funny? Is this gonna sell? So like when you hear the laughters, it's like a great relief that you're like, oh, it's
Are
like
any of
working.
these on YouTube or anything?
No, it's actually the school owns the rights to the movies, and we cannot like show it to film festivals or anything because they want us to be like super free of like the outside world, like keep it in a bubble, just try anything you want.
And if you become Spielberg, they can monetize it.
No, they don't monetize it actually, but yeah, they just want us to like just try anything.
Be natural.
Yeah. And so for example, this semester we made a movie about a guy who has a fiance toaster.
Okay. I like this idea.
It's like the Her movie, right? With Joaquin Phoenix. or
Yeah,
something,
exactly. Yeah.
Okay. I want to see this movie now.
I sent it to you in private.
Yeah.
So yeah, just ideas that are really out there, like trying out stuff, because you will never have the opportunity to do anything you really want, because
limits.
push the limits and try something super different, because you have investors and you have to convince all these other people. And
And where do you go to get your creative ideas? Like, what's the process there to say about a guy who's got a fiance toaster?
so I didn't write this one.
Okay.
It's a talented writer, team member of mine who wrote this one, but it's a good question where the ideas come from. Like sometimes I do this exercise which is benefiting me, where because we put so much pressure in ourselves to come up with good stories and good stuff, it can be paralyzing, especially when you're like staring at the blank page and you're like, okay, what is the next great idea? But I do this exercise when I'm like, I have to write 5 short films in 1 hour. So you just naturally have to go through that block, and you're like, okay, it's about 2 guys who are starting a podcast, but one of them cannot talk anymore. So the other guys, and you just like start writing whatever bullshit comes to mind. And sometimes there is like a sentence or like a half an idea that works there, and then you can dissect that and like go more into detail.
Yeah, that's a good. I just watched an interview with. Do you know the singer James Blunt?
Yeah.
All right, so he lived with Carrie Fisher.
You're beautiful.
That's the one. You actually sound better than him. But Carrie Fisher, the actress, the late actress from Star Wars, he lived with her and wrote his first album, Back to Bedlam, in their house. I didn't know this. It's an amazing story. And long story short is Carrie Fisher met him through a mutual friend somewhere, and he said, I'm moving out to California, I think it was. And she said, where are you going to live? And she went, okay, I have nowhere yet. You come and live with me. Just met this guy. But when James Blunt got there was several other famous people living in her house. And he named it Back to Bedlam because the house was Bedlam. There's people walking around naked. There's people walking around. And
Where is this? Where is this again?
Yeah.
It's next to the Beverly Hillbillies.
Yeah, her mother lived next door and stuff. And I mean, the song Goodbye My Lover, there's a great story behind it. I won't spoil it for anyone who wants to find it. But she had a piano next to the toilet in the bathroom. And that's where he wrote the album, Back to Bedlam. And it was like this madhouse where there was so much creativity. And she had, I can't remember, there was something like an urn that people would like move around the house and it would wind her up. And it was just chaos in this house. But he said because of that chaos, it was just every corner of the house you went to, it was creative. And yeah, I'll put a link in the bottom of the video to that interview. It was amazing hearing about how his creative process, because he said that because there was a piano in the bathroom, I could write 10 songs in 2 days or whatever it was.
Well, it was shitty.
And by the way, it was the biggest selling album of all time at the time, as well.
Have you always been creative, or is it just something you've built, developed?
Oh man, I don't know. I think I think I was like a funny kid. I don't know. I think that's part of creativity in one sense, but I was always like the class clown. And when I was a kid, I tried to make like I recorded myself making like a fake podcast kind of. But I was like reading stuff from like Funny Magazine and like try to act as like different guests and stuff. And but I really enjoyed like just making my classmates laugh a lot. But yeah, I think the whole film stuff seemed like a different like entity or like a different interest. Creativity. Yeah, it's a good question. Like, for example, now, like, I do have to write a lot, and like a lot of times I very much like hitting that wall, and like I think for you to need, like, for me at least, to be creative, like I need to like rest too, because like the school is like pushing us like really tough, like really hard. Like the schedules are super tough, and like last semester I talked to one of my teachers, and I was like, they don't give us enough time to create good work or like create great stuff, because like the deadlines are like super short. And she was saying like they're like preparing us for this industry where you don't have that luxury to like meditate on a story and like dream about it, and like you have to like hit those deadlines and just like have to crank it out.
So most the classmates haven't worked in the industry like you have, or it's a mixture?
It's a mixture.
Okay.
Yeah. Some of them have like, like a great experience, like years and years. Some of them are like indie filmmakers, and they like made like I have classmates who made like directed feature films, you know, like,
Really?
Oh, wow.
yeah. So like that's a different kind of experience. And like, but it's a great mixture of things. There's somebody who worked in TV. There's somebody who made like a bunch of commercials. There are some people who like realize they want to be directors, you know, like 2 years ago, sort of like me. There are a bunch of different kind of experiences, people. Yeah.
And I mean, ultimately your goal, you have like another year and a half.
Yeah.
I think August 26, you graduate.
Yeah.
And then you want to come back and keep working with your own, kind of doing indie stuff, or do you want to work your way into like big production or whatever?
It's a good question. I'm not 100% sure. I think the best would be, since the infrastructure here is great, but still like making, like I would love to make like an English movie or like an American movie. So my idea is to like bring a bunch of American actors here and like use the infrastructure here and like the locations here and like my connections and create like an American movie. What the others are doing here, like what the big movies are doing here, kind of using the infrastructure, but with like American actors. That would be amazing. But yeah, you need, do you have a couple $100,000 to fund my indie?
Write you a check, yeah.
Yeah, that would be great.
Is it difficult to get funding?
Yeah, because you're just starting out, so you know, like why would anybody would give me
Take the risk.
Yeah, why would everybody take the risk to like give me $400,000 to like make a movie? So it's like a lot of people do what they do is like they make shorts, and because they're cheaper, and you can do like a festival run, and then people see your work.
The idea.
Yeah, they see the idea, they see the work, and then they're like, "Oh, do you have a feature film?" And then you're just like, "Oh, here it is," and then
And so it builds credibility in your brand.
right. Yeah, you need to build credibility.
I mean,
Exactly.
on that finance thing, it was funny that you said you worked a little bit in the finance side a little bit and things like that. We've seen and we've heard a lot of, you know, movie like Waterworld, you know, the amount of money they wasted. What would you say is the biggest, I mean, we know actors get paid a lot of money. Some would say too much, some would say too little, but what would be the biggest unknown waste of finances you see on production?
Security.
Yeah, you guys probably.
Depends on the guy working there.
I mean, what I see is like, I mean, it's hard to tell exactly where they spend the money, but sometimes you can be on a production and feel like the money is not on the screen a lot of times. And that's the worst thing, when you see like it's a whatever TV series for like $100 or $200 million, but it's like actually people talking in offices. There's something wrong. Like something went wrong. Because if with that money, like you must see like explosions and like huge fight scenes and like big things. If they are like talking in offices on the phone, like the money went somewhere they shouldn't have gone to.
It happens a lot from what we see. Yeah.
And the other crazy part is like they'll build out a set like in Dune where they had the TVs and the huge TV wall. I mean, it's like this whole warehouse was like a huge outer space scene. And, you know, Momoa was like floating in space or something, and it didn't even make the cut. You know, and it's just like how many hundreds of thousands of dollars were just spent there and then just delete.
That's the hardest thing when you like you have something in the movie that you really love, but it's like not the right puzzle piece, and like you could have spent hours, like days, weeks, the money, the actor, and it's like a great scene, but it doesn't fit your story, and you need to like kill it. That's
Kill
tough.
your babies.
Kill your babies, exactly.
I've heard that before.
Yeah. That's a tough one.
It's how do you make that choice though? It just fits or doesn't fit, or it feels right or doesn't feel right, or what?
Yeah, I mean, it's also a conversation. Like editors are filmmakers. Like something I like learn now, because when you like work, when you make your own stuff, like I directed a couple like music videos and like tiny shorts, but I was always editing because you don't have the luxury to like work with an editor. But like now I work with an editor and realize like editors are just like, and like filmmakers, like they're writers or directors or producers, like they make the movie also. So like working with the editor was like this great opportunity to learn about their process. And yeah, it's like it's like a collaboration, and you realize like some parts just don't fit there. And yeah, it's actually is like a really nice experience to work with an editor, like this extra collaboration, this extra pair of eyes, this expertise, that
Extra bit of support as well.
yeah.
From a different angle, viewpoint. Yeah. Just, I mean, you've named quite a lot of productions. So here's I'm going to put you on the spot here.
Yeah, go for it.
From your favorite to least favorite production you've worked on.
I could probably say this.
I mean, Dune was amazing. Like,
From a learning experience, I mean.
it was mind-blowingly amazing. Like working with Denis and working with Tanya, it was an awesome. It kind of like changed my perspective too of like directing, and me wanting to be a director was like really greatly influenced by them and that experience of working with them, and like working on Dune.
Because of Denny's style, or just his creativity? What?
Yeah, his like persona and like his approach to movies, like his love of movies, and like how he works with all these people, and like his passion for the project, but also like he is an awesome guy, and like he's great to work with, and you feel like they create this environment where every piece feels like it feels like we're all kind of making this movie together. And it's like, it's coming from the top. It's coming from them to create this kind of team towards this movie. And it's like a really different feeling to work on something that you feel like you really are part of it. And that's an amazing experience. It was, really great. So, but to the least favorite.
Well, we have to go down the list. I mean, there's got to be something in the middle.
Man. Yeah, there were a couple of tough ones. When you really feel like you are just there for like
Getting the cup of coffee.
Exactly, where you're just there to like, you're just this tiny, because you know they're a tiny piece of the puzzle, and that's fine. But when they don't give, like when some people don't give a shit about you, or like don't care about like other people, they're just so much in their bubble, and you feel like you're just like a little servant and not part of the process. That's tough.
Not getting a thank you when you bring coffee and stuff.
Yeah,
Things.
It's and it happens on tiny projects too. Like I was working on a short film, and like one of the creatives was like a super selfish person, and we didn't feel like we were making this together. It felt like we're just serving this one person, and that can create like a really bad team dynamic. And it's important because you spend like 12 hours a day working on this thing, and so if it feels like you're serving someone instead of like serving a story or serving a movie and making it together, it's like totally different.
I mean, you're saying it's obviously a very pressure job for a lot of people, in a production, long days, with very little rest in between the days. Without naming names, have you seen any meltdowns?
Oh, every day.
Every day?
Every day you see meltdowns.
What was the biggest meltdown without mentioning a name?
Oh, man. I mean, even in school, it's like, I see it all the time. Because the pressure, like, yeah, exactly what you said, like, just the time you spend on set, like, no rest. And the some positions, like you can do like a perfect job and nobody notices because if everything is going smoothly, that's how it should go. Yeah. But people don't realize that's like a really hard thing to make it that way. So when like one tiny thing happens, it's like, what the fuck? Like how, like you fucked it up, blah, blah, blah. But they don't realize that for 4 months you did perfect. But one day you fucked it up, everybody's like lashing on you, like, what the hell happened? And so like,
what did you do?
What did you do? But this kind of stuff happens all the time. So like I've seen every show I worked on, I've seen people cry.
Yeah.
Like adults, like.
You said you were going to mention that.
It's okay. It's a safe space.
It's okay. It was a kissing scene, Chris.
But yeah, meltdowns every show. Yeah. All the time. Because it's tough.
And that's from actors, everyone across the board?
No, not across the board. Not across the board, because a lot of people don't have the luxury to hide, because you're in office, you're in front of people all the time. Like, I'm sure like a lot of people can hide and like get their shit together in like a private space, but like when you're in a studio or in your office, like there's no other space to like.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Like when you're on set and it's just like, there's 100 people and you're trying to manage everything. And one of my frustrations is always like the cast members when they are late their call and coming on set and stuff. And like, you have 100 people standing around waiting for them and they're just in their trailer finishing their latte. And you're like, dude, people have been waiting on you for like 30 minutes. Come on.
Yeah,
and that just starts stacking up though.
Yeah. And it's funny because like, I definitely seen that, and like my experience is that like I thought like maybe like the more A-lister the people are, like it's probably the harder to work with them. But like a lot of times what I saw, even though I haven't had a lot of experience working with actors in like an assistant way, just like a tiny bit, but like what I saw is like the bigger the star, they're kind of like the nicer and like know how to navigate this space. But people who are trying to become like A-listers or trying to become like that, they are the ones who are like a little bit tougher to work with, or they are the ones who are like, okay, they can wait for me, like I'm a star. But if people who are really stars, they're like super punctual, like they are there, like
professional.
Yeah.
Do you think that might be because, I mean, for example, if you're a director like you're Spielberg or someone like this, and you've worked with an actor who's punctual, doesn't have you waiting around all the time, that's going to influence your decision to work with them again.
Oh, sure.
Whereas someone who's always late, you're like, no.
100%. Yeah. And people who collaborate again and again, like, yeah, they must be
like Tarantino. I mean, you can pretty much know who's going to be in his movies.
Everybody probably.
Yeah. Well, like, yeah, but you know what I mean? And Guy Ritchie as well, you know, is another one.
Right. Yeah, like professionalism, yeah. Or like finding that same sensibility, finding that same voice, the same collaboration, like knowing that the other can have great ideas and then you can build on that idea and like they have trust you and you trust them. It's like all these things add up to whether or not you want to like work with the same person again. And it's funny because like I have a really good friend and he's a great friend and we tried to write together. And we did write a script together, but I think it was like too hard of a process to write with him. And we stopped writing, but we're still really good friends, but I don't think we're going to write anything again because there are just so many components to like what you want to do with.
But it was like a personality conflict on the script or just disagreement on how it was written or how it was going to be played out?
Yeah, it's like creative differences. Mm-hmm. And like that convincing, like we couldn't convince each other of like our ideas a lot of times, and we're still good friends. And it's like, it's a great friendship, but like I don't think we're gonna write again anymore because it's like a totally different relationship. That's why I was asking like how the podcast is going and like how's the work between you.
Yeah, chemistry is a big thing, I think.
Yeah,
in business and just working, and actually in friendships too. But I think. If I think everybody wants to work with family and friends, but the reality is sometimes you have to know when maybe in the future it'll be a perfect project where you'll know that'll be the right fit. But I think, like we said, saying no and not being offended by it is one of the biggest traits I think you can learn in life. with a person.
Right. But I said no to this like 5 times, and then he sent the military there and like put the gun to my head.
Well, them pictures he has as well. You know?
Blackmail, right?
Yeah, blackmailing.
So, yeah, I mean, one of the things that a couple of years ago, I met an actor who had I thought of it just driving here. Obviously, I'm thinking about sex all the time, I guess, but it was about the sex scenes. Is that awkward for actors, like not necessarily for the actors, because I mean they get in character, right? So they're in like a zone, but for everybody else stood around holding lights and stuff. For me, that just seems like something fast. I asked an actor who was about to do a scene with Eva Mendes. I mean, someone geeky will probably be able to guess what movie it was. And he went, no, it's unprofessional. I'm like, yeah, but I'm more about like the guy who's just brought you a latte now gets to see you unrobed. That must be weird.
I mean, now I think it's really different than it was probably back in the day, because now they have intimacy coordinators.
Ah, okay.
So I think
what?
Yeah. So like I think before like the whole Me Too movement, it could have been really awkward, or like they have these intimacy coordinators, so it's like a buffer zone between the director and the actor. Because a lot of times I'm guessing what happened is that whatever they told someone like, oh, you're just gonna be shirtless in the scene and that's gonna be it. But on the day, the director is like, you know what would be great if you would be naked. It's a great idea. And the actor is in this weird position, like, oh, like, am I gonna be the one who says no and then stops the film and like blah blah. So they are like put into this like weird like pressure like power dynamic. So now there's an intimacy coordinator. And on the toaster film that I worked on, there's a scene where there's like a guy fucking a toaster. So like he was kind of naked, so we needed an intimacy coordinator. And there's a kissing scene, so we need an intimacy coordinator. So there's no way for me to pressure them into something they don't want to do. So like intimacy coordinator talks to them, and they're like, are you okay doing this? You can tell. You can say no, I can talk to the director, blah, blah, blah.
Did they talk to the toaster to get their opinion?
Yeah, we should have talked to the toaster.
I hear a court case coming.
Oh, no. I'm going to be cancelled because of a toaster. But I think it's because of that, and because of like people more... they give more attention to these kind of stuff. I think it's less and less awkward, and also people who don't have to be there, they are not there. So so they figure out a way to keep the sets minimal, and for a lot of people, it's like they can go out, have a cigarette, and have a coffee, and like
because the scene in question where I was talking about, there was I think like nearly 100 people in the set when it happened. And there was like 6 or 7 actors on the scene with
6 or 7 actors.
Yeah. I'll tell you the movie afterwards, and you'll figure out. I don't even know if it was actually the full scene was made into the movie as well, but it's in the like extended cut. And I mean, he was like, "No, it's I'm a tough guy. I'm this. I'm like it'd be unprofessional." Because my question is, I mean, Eva Mendes is a good-looking lady. What happens if someone gets a bit of blood? I'd be unprofessional. You tape it to your leg and stuff like this. And I said, yeah, but like, what about the guys who are stood with you, who are also watching Eva Mendes get naked as well? No, it wasn't Eva Mendes. Sorry, it was I forgot the lady's name now. I'll figure it. Eva Green. Eva Green. Sorry. Yeah,
it's such a like professional, or like, like this is a conversation, and it's like kind of like a laid back, like real conversation, but we're all kind of know that there are microphones and there's like a light, and imagine this like times 500. So it's like, like real sex is not that. So I think.
Whoa! Porns aren't real sex.
I was waiting for it, but I think it's because it's like it's so apart from like an real experience that
everybody goes to like a third person kind of thing.
What does that mean?
Like everybody steps out their own body to just do the job.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not real, and it's like
No, I know. I thought it'd be super weird. I don't think I'd like to stand there and hold a light or a sound, thing and just watch
Be a camera
two
guy.
people to pretend to,
Right.
I mean, doing it in real life, I mean, that might be a different thing. But yeah.
So you started out, you got into the film industry because you liked movies, and let's call it how it shaped society in a lot of ways. I mean, like Star Wars and stuff. I mean, that was like changed society in so many different ways. And now you're progressing to become a director. You have your own production company. What is your purpose now in the industry? What do you see that as? Is it to change something? I mean, obviously, films make people's lives better, entertain them. What do you see now?
What's the goal?
What's the goal? Yeah, it's a good question. I think I just want to make movies I like and want to make people laugh. And I definitely see it in my writing that it's not on the level of like changing people's lives, but it's a long career. Like I see directors get on like on the top of like their journey in like their 50s or 60s sometimes. So I feel like it's a long career, and I'm not in a hurry. I just want to learn as much as possible, and want to be a better writer and director, and
just improve a little bit each
Yeah.
time.
But also, I mean, to push you a little bit further on this, I mean, I think, look, you grew up with your mom, going to these Christmas parties. You were involved with the humanitarian crisis in the Ukraine war. You did a lot there. So, I mean, you have a lot going on that's giving you life experience to see that, one small smile can change someone's trajectory in life,
For
basically, right? And then how does that? I mean, you want to make people laugh, so that's a big tick, So it's like you finish this film school, you come back, you want to keep your own production company and grow that, and just continue to, maybe Zelensky will be free by then, and he can come do comedy shows for you or something. But how do you? I mean, what do you see? Where do you want to go?
it's a good question. Like that part of like, yeah, like these experiences, like definitely changed me in a way that I do want to get more involved. But I don't know if film is the best way to do that. I mean, for some people, yes, but I think maybe helping out at the Christmas party is a better way for me to do that than through films. But it would be great to kind of combine all these elements and like create like meaningful films that also, yeah, just like shape or like help people. But I think that's also like, that just seems like such a hard thing to like combine the philosophical with the entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
some people can do it great, but
with comedy, I think it's extra hard.
yeah, for sure. But yeah, that's definitely something to keep in mind.
But it's about like value curation, right? I mean, it's just like that's what this podcast is about. It's like taking, David and Goliath, the underdogs, the black sheep, whatever, and like sitting down and having a conversation with you now about what do you want in life, or maybe that's too big of a question, but like this progression of your career and what do you want to achieve in life. And it's kind of Pete and I's approach also is like, how do we help communities, right? And that's why we're here having this podcast now, and the business dealings we're dealing with is because it's like ultimately we want to be a change agent, but also we want to help the small guy that's being crushed, by big tech or big blockbuster movies that destroy the indie. Okay, indie's becoming a little more popular now, but so it's kind of like finding your path.
Right. And that, I mean, stories have like a great power, and I really do believe in that. Like stories can change people's lives, and I just, for me, like I'm definitely like my focus is definitely like different than finding stories that like help people. It would be great to like kind of create movies that can like touch people and like affect people in a way that create this positive change in their lives. But I don't think that's the angle I'm coming from. And and those are not the movies that I'm like super interested in.
Yeah, you have to be interested.
Yeah.
Was it one work?
Huh?
Yeah, you have to be interested in the project. Otherwise, I mean, I think that from some of the big movies that kind of flop is people have a vision, but I don't think they were fully sold on the idea anyway. You know, like I think you know when a big A-list actor's not doing his best work because it's just like it's a paycheck rather than a passion.
Yeah, it's even, or when like, or like when you're a PA and it's like just a
job,
and it's like can trickle down to like everybody.
Yeah. Did you see I just had an idea. I'm just throwing this out here, and if it works, I want rights. Did you see the TV show Baby Reindeer? Yeah, right, okay. I learned a couple of weeks ago that the guy who played that is the guy. It's actually his life story.
Yeah, and he's the creator of the show,
which makes it even more insane.
Yeah.
But maybe there's an angle here with your toaster movie that it's about you.
Yeah. Okay.
Right, and the reason you're screwed is your mum wanted you to be a doctor and a pediatrician, and you end up, you know what I mean, going that angle, and you're that, I'm going to do what I want to do, mum, and you marry a toaster. And in which case, I mean, would you play yourself, or who would be the dream actor for that role?
Oh no, I would love to do stories that are like totally different than real life, and like I mean, that's why I love the toaster film, because it's like such an absurd idea.
Is it?
It's like Mel Gibson's Beaver. If you've seen that movie,
no, I've never seen that.
It's brilliant. Yeah, was it Mel Gibson?
What is it? Is it a comedy?
The Beaver.
The Beaver, yeah.
It's a comedy, or what is it?
Yeah.
What is it about?
I don't remember.
He sees a beaver, and it's a make-believe one. I'll send you it. It's old. It's old, but it's brilliant. Yeah. I'm sure it was Mel Gibson. It was Mel. Was it Mel? Yeah.
Jodie Foster's in it, I think.
Yeah. Really big movie. Yeah.
But
so which actor would play you?
Which actor would play me?
Yeah, or the guy in the toaster movie. Let's say it's not you.
Yeah, I would definitely want to stay away from like real stories. I think that can kill a story a lot of times when it's too personal. I think I think it has to be personal, but not like real life personal.
Sure.
The story needs to be like, you need to be super passionate about it, and like, but I think if it's based on real life, like you can get hang up on details that maybe doesn't serve your story, but maybe it was because it was that way in real life, and that can create.
Sure. I mean, it could be a loose adaptation. I mean,
right.
The Baby Reindeer thing, I don't think it was 100% factual.
Yeah. What a great show, by the way.
Yeah, it was really different.
Yeah.
And I think that's why people liked it.
Yeah.
Strange guy. There was an interview with him on a breakfast show in the UK, and I'm like, how somebody give you money to produce this after if they met you in person, I'd be worried. But a really good show.
Yeah.
Really neat.
He could play me in real life.
You think?
Yeah. He would be weird enough to.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah.
Is he tall enough?
Yeah.
Tall enough?
Yeah, he looks quite tall. Yeah.
So you live in LA?
Yeah.
How do you like it?
I mean, honestly, I only been home, my apartment or the school, because the school is it's a conservatory, so like I don't have a lot of time to explore LA. So as far as I know, it could have been in Tatabánya or whatever, in the countryside of Hungary, because I'm just been A to B, really. But
is crime as crazy, homelessness as crazy as they say?
I mean, there's a lot of like mental health issues. So you see a lot of like, just a lot of people like talking to themselves or like screaming on the street, which is a little bit scary. But other than that, I mean, I think, it's that and the opiates. Yeah. Like, a couple times I took the bus, and in the morning you can see like just people sitting on the bus stop, like totally out of their minds. And that's pretty awful.
You're going everywhere public transportation?
Sometimes I do. Like I have an old car, and unfortunately that broke down a couple times this semester. So I was taking the bus, and I saw a lot of people just using drugs, or like not using drugs, but on drugs. So the opiate thing is definitely scary in America. Like I have a couple of friends who carry that
Narcan.
The nasal spray thing, because they're just like, oh, like I had to use it one time, so now I always have it. So that's like a totally foreign.
Well, the scary part is like the fentanyl, right? Where someone could just brush up on a glass and with fentanyl, and or like kids are finding it in the playground and candy and done. Or unless you have an Narcan. But
yeah, it's pretty crazy.
But I would assume you're spending all your weekends like out in Malibu at the mansions, swimming in pools with all the movie stars and stuff. Yeah.
Sunglasses, limousines. Yeah, it's very
like a music
glamorous. Yeah. It's funny that's
So let's on movies have changed. Well, the movie, but film in general in the last 20 years, I think probably the biggest thing is the switch to TV shows and Netflix and streaming services have obviously took hold. From my recollection, Lost changed everything for me personally, because that was the first TV show I was like, okay, I can't wait for next week. What do you see as like in 20 years time? I mean, cinemas are, historically less full, and people are moving more to streaming services. What do you think is going to happen to cinemas? And what do you think the next big trend is?
Yeah, I mean, I think cinemas are very much aware that like people just watch the things at home. They use streaming, especially that a lot of the releases are now just like whatever, like a 20-day release in cinema, and then they're just like, why would I go? Can just wait to watch it on my huge TV, the same thing.
Because there used to be a big delay, didn't they?
Yeah, there used to be a big delay, but now there's like a lot of times it's instant, like they're like both released at the same time.
Like Disney movies.
Yeah, which is really crazy. But I think what I read about like NATO, which is not the military NATO, but like the National Association of Theater Owners, is that they trying to build like cinemas around a more like whole like an entertainment thing. So it's like they try to expand like that experience of like going to the movies, because now it's really expensive a lot of places. So it's like you think about it twice, like what you want to watch. Because when I was a kid, it was like, let's go to the movies. Great. Let's figure out what movie we watch. Yeah. Because it was just like, let's go to the movies. Yeah. Like, let's see what playing. But now it's
in
like...
In the UK, it's crazy expensive. It's like £12 for popcorn.
Right.
I mean, if you want to go to the cinema in the UK, you're paying £50 if you want snacks and a ticket. And that's just like for you. It's ridiculous.
It's just for you.
Well, like just for one person. Yeah. I mean,
what is the?
I'd obviously bring a date.
What is the purpose of the streaming over big screen though? Is it cheaper from a marketing perspective, or just faster to market?
For streamers?
Yeah, like for example, what was a movie that just came out recently, and then like 20 days later they released it on Netflix or Disney or whatever. Is it like because they can reduce the budget because they don't have to pay the royalties to the
because they can control everything. So it's they can get the new subscribers because they can market it in a way like, oh, it's only an hour streaming service. They can get more. They basically control all of production. They like they choose the project, they find the project, they finance it, and then they streaming it. So it's like they own all of it.
And for the independent, like for Aliens as an example, which has come out. They could go on to Netflix, but Netflix gets it for like a couple of years, and then they could sell it again to Disney.
Right.
And then they could sell, maybe not Aliens because I know it's under one of the umbrellas, but one of these, individual movies you basically get a second shot at a cinema. You only get one shot at the cinema on a new movie, right?
True. But back in the day, you could sell it for DVD, and that was or like video, and that was like your second box office kind of.
Yeah.
But now it's like less money from the streaming services. But it's interesting because it seems like nobody's like super happy about how the system works. So I wonder.
I think the cinemas have to change.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a drive-through it's in the north of England where it's wet, cold, damp, and a drive-through and it's rammed. You tune your radio in to a certain frequency, you get the sound in your car, and it's on a big screen. And that caught a lot, because, there's people serving you popcorn to your car. So, like, you have that old nostalgic feeling. It's an experience. And then there was a cinema here at the shopping centre in Mahmut before the pandemic. It was owned by a Turkish company. I want to say they were called Pink or something.
Yeah.
Did you ever go there? That was an amazing, Tiffany lights and a big comfy Chesterfield chair. That was an experience. The big 20s cocktail bar. They had bowling in there. I think that model can work because, like, you know, if you're you're a dad and you've got your kid on a Sunday and you don't know what to do, you've now got the whole day. Let's go bowling, let's go to the arcade, let's go to the cinema.
Right.
That experience, I think, would work, like a Hollywood Bowl kind of vibe.
Yeah, I think that's what they're going for.
Yeah, I think they have
places.
to. It's the only, but like you said, it's expensive. I think it should be a day ticket in, and you can kind of like book your seat and watch 2 or 3 movies maybe or something like that. That might be a better. When I left the military, I was in the UK for about 6 to 8 months, and I was playing football, and we had a chance at winning the league. Long story short, we didn't. So what the guys did is, you know, the games are on Sundays, and everyone used to go out and get plastered drunk on the Saturday. And when we realized we had a chance at the league, we stopped going out drinking. So we said, what do we do? So
that was the problem. That's why.
Yeah, maybe. So what we did is we all bought this. It was at the Cineworld cinemas. I don't know how much they are now, but back then it was £15, I think, or £20 for a monthly ticket, and you could go and see whatever movie you wanted as many times as you wanted. So it became a thing on a Saturday that basically 15, 20 big burly guys were going to the cinema, and we ended up watching like Jimmy Eats World or whatever it is, one of the worst movies I've ever seen. And we ended up watching a rom-com on a Saturday, 15 guys in a row. And, that became like a nostalgic thing. And then one guy would bring, his own popcorn, and it just became a cool little experience for us. And then, we obviously didn't win the league, and then everyone went back to going drinking. But now I know that ticket for that monthly pass is extremely expensive, and there's not that many movies coming out anymore as well. So it's a double-edged sword. If you wanted a pick and mix, it was like £25 for a pick and mix. It just became
What is a pick and mix?
like little
Like a
jelly sweets. Jelly sweets that you get for like Coca-Cola
Gummy bears.
bottles and gummy bears.
Okay. Yeah, like a salad bar with gummies.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know anyone who goes to a salad bar and takes it into the cinema. Maybe
It's an LA thing.
It's an LA thing, yeah.
Tofu.
Yeah, sat there digging into a Caesar while Aliens is on. Someone's getting ripped open. Yeah.
Getting a vitamin V.
All right, we got to get you out of here shortly.
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
Can I ask one last question though? AI writer's strike. Explain
writer's
to me.
strike?
There was a writer's strike recently about AI, I believe. What was that about?
I mean, I'm not sure about the writer. I think the writer's strike was partly about healthcare.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah, but also AI is a big part of it for SAG, especially like for the actors, because a lot of movies, they get scanned, and I think they're like rightfully afraid if the studio has their scan. Like, what if they what if they die, but the next year they make a movie with your scan or whatever. So I think that was a big conversation about that too. But AI, I think it's just another tool that you have to learn how to use. Like, I'm sure AI will make movies all together and like scripts all together, and but I don't think that's gonna make people lose their jobs as writers or directors, producers, cinematographers. I think it's just another tool that you have to learn how to use and make the best out of it.
And one final question, which I heard a couple of days ago, and I thought it was an amazing question. What does freedom mean to you?
Freedom means to me? Oh, wow. Okay. I think it's like waking up and choosing what to do and not being told what to do. That's a big part of it. And I think that comes to like financial freedom also, and like being your own boss and like doing what you love and like surrounding yourself with people you love.